Well, we have somebody else who probably will be there with bells on later on tonight. Kim Baer is here, attorney at law, of course. And this morning we're talking about some things that for some folks might be a little uncomfortable.
Yes.
But you said that there's a way to handle this in a positive way.
Yes, yes. So if you're thinking about getting a divorce, or you have a friend or a relative thinking about getting a divorce, and the husband and the wife, or the two spouses, and as the case may be, have agreed on everything. In other words, they know what they want to do about custody, they know what they want to do about their debts and their assets.
How often does this happen? I'm sorry to stop you.
Yeah. You know, so we do quite a few divorces in our office, and I'd say about 50% of them are what we call uncontested. Yes.
I had the same question. My first thought was, how many people actually go in with a plan knowing that, okay, this is what we're going to do?
Yes.
And it's going to be uncontested, and we've got decisions made.
Yeah, about 50%. You know, because really, custody and alimony are the two things that we usually see people fight over. And just because in Iowa it's difficult to determine alimony, then obviously custody is really a hot button. But we do see a lot of people that sit down and they realize their marriage is over. They've tried counseling, and they don't want to spend a lot of money on attorney's fees. They'd rather.
Speaking of money, we'll get to the attorney's fees in a second. You mentioned alimony. Is alimony still a majority from the husband paying the wife, or is it starting to go both ways?
It's starting to go both ways. In fact, I have 2 or 3 cases right now in my office where the wife earns substantially more, and we're making an alimony claim because it's a long-term marriage, and so the husband has a claim. So yeah, it goes both ways. So
okay. Now, since we're speaking of money,
yes,
you mentioned some fees involved here.
Exactly. What I thought we'd touch on today is a flat fee divorce, and what that is if it's uncontested and you've agreed on virtually everything, and you just really need an attorney to kind of guide you through the process, fill out the paperwork, and
sign here.
Yes, make sure the quitclaim deeds are done. Make sure that we're handling the retirement assets correctly. Then that's what we call a flat fee uncontested divorce. And a lot of law firms are offering those. I know in our office right now, if you have children, it's $2,350. If there are no minor children, then it's $1,850. And what I thought I'd talk about today is if you're talking to a lawyer about a flat fee, what are the questions you need to be asking?
Okay.
Because not all flat fees are the same.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I'm sure there's a lot of questions that come up.
There are. Well, number one, so does it include the court cost? Because court costs right off the bat to file a divorce is $185, and then you've got court cost at the end as well. So does that flat fee include court cost? Does it include a quitclaim deed? Because if we've got a house, we're going to have to do a quitclaim deed if one of the parties is going to keep it.
No, what is a quitclaim deed?
A quitclaim deed. So if you and I were married and we're getting divorced,
we've been married and divorced about 15 times already.
Yes, on this show.
Strictly for entertainment purposes only on the show.
Yes, our spouses wouldn't really care for that, but yeah, strictly for entertainment. So Lou and I are married, and unfortunately now we're going to get a divorce again. Yeah. And Lou wants to keep the house, and I'm fine with that. Because we've been married, even if I'm not on the deed, I have what's called a dower interest. I have this interest that's created by law.
Okay.
Yes, and so we have to get a quitclaim deed, and we want to do it as part of the divorce, because even though right now we're getting along, let's say 10 years from now we're not getting along, and you go to sell the home, and there's a title opinion, and they say, hey, you've got to go track down Kim and get a quitclaim deed. Well, I might sign it, I might not, if I'm mad at you.
Right.
So that's why we just try to make sure we take care of everything.
I mean, there's anger in marriages.
And divorces, and later on, so anyway, so that's why you
just
need
to cover your bases.
Just to cover your bases. So you want to say, does it include the quitclaim deed? Does it include, we already talked about court costs. And then what about a qualified domestic relations order? And what that is, yes, so we call that the quadro. And that is if you and I are getting divorced, and let's say you have $100,000 in retirement and I have nothing, and it was all earned during the marriage, so you're going to give me 50 because arguably I'm entitled to an equitable portion. So in order to transfer 50 over, it has to be done using a qualified domestic relations order, which is another court order. So, and those things sometimes are a little time consuming, and so we always want to make sure that you want to ask the attorney, is this going to be an added fee or is it included?
There are definitely a lot of things I don't think people realize that go into a divorce, especially when you have property and investments.
Yes.
And don't worry, honey, if you're watching, I am not taking notes. I promise.
You're all good.
I'm
You're
good.
all
We're good.
Yes, yes, yes. So those are the types of things that you want to ask, and then you also want to ask, what happens if I change my mind? What happens if I file for divorce and now I'm not so mad at Lou, and maybe we're going to go to counseling and reconcile?
And does this happen
Yeah,
very
it
often?
does. It does.
How
It does.
close to the signing of the final papers does that come in your situation?
You can, well, usually, sometimes just the filing of divorce is a wake-up call, because one spouse is kind of like, she'll never do it, and then she does it, and oh my gosh, do I really want to get divorced?
Really?
Yeah.
So you go through all the work.
They go through all the work. I have one person, I'm not going to name names obviously, that holds the record. 4 times she filed, 3 times we dismissed, the 4th time we got her divorced. So, but I always tell people, we can divorce it, stop it, slow it down. It's really important. If you're going to get divorced, you need to be really sure.
Yeah.
And so
It's
our
a
job
big
is,
decision.
yeah,
All right,
we don't want to push people into it.
Okay, being the person I am, okay, what's it going to cost me if I say put the brakes on?
Right.
Yeah, okay,
It's the same. It's the same.
It's the same
cost.
regardless.
Exactly. But if you, so let me, what I wanted to explain is, if you say, put the brakes on, I don't want to dismiss, I just want to be on hold, we file a motion with the court and let the court know, hey, they're going to try reconciliation. The court's always good with that. But let's say that we file a petition and we start working on some documents, then you call up and you say, hey, Kim, great news, we're getting back together, and we're going to dismiss it. What we do in our office is we've billed against that retainer, and then you get a refund of whatever money hasn't been spent.
Okay.
So, because a lot of times people think, oh, flat fee, I pay up front. If I change my mind, I've lost all that money.
That's what I was thinking.
Yes, no, that's not ethical in Iowa. So the attorneys have to refund whatever portion that is that they haven't used. So they'll keep track of the time. So
That's good to know.
It is good to
Yeah.
know. It is good to know. And then the other question that you want to ask is, well, I think it's uncontested, but what happens if we start fighting over custody, or we start fighting over the retirement assets?
So if it changes, changes gears halfway
exactly,
through, yeah.
exactly.
Can you still adjust that way?
Yeah, and what we do is, because we're billing against that retainer, is at some point, if now you're fighting, we're going to run out of money, because now we're doing motions and mediation and that kind of stuff, and so we'll just ask for more money.
Does it ever happen that a spouse uses this to kind of get the other spouse's attention?
Yes, I think a lot of times that happens, and there are lots of people that come in and they're just done. I mean, they've waited maybe until the kids got out of the house, or
I've heard that a lot. Yeah.
or there's been infidelity, or there's some other type of serious issue that they've tried to address. So a lot of times people are done, but sometimes it is, he won't go to counseling, or she won't go to counseling, or this is an issue and they won't address it. So sometimes, it is just kind of a big wake-up call.
All right, so again, a big change in life. So if you do have any questions about this is the lady you want to ask. Get a hold of her. There's the number. You've seen that number around town. 515-INJURED is the number. It's the same number to get a hold of her for this type of situation as well. So again, great information as always.
Yeah,
Thank
good
you.
to see you.
You going to the fair?
Yeah, actually going to go see Hairball tomorrow night.
Okay.
Yeah.
You thought I was joking. She's going to be there.
I love Hairball.
Rock
yeah.
on.
Yeah.
All right. We'll be right back. This is ZW Iowa Live.